Clock on my phone, it's 1 o'clock.
Meeting is being recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for an introduction to SBAM's still relatively new Pooled Employer Retirement Plan. I'm Scott Lyon, Senior Vice President here at SBAM, and I'm joined today by a couple of members of our team that help build what you'll see in the next 30, 45 minutes or so. Just for a bit of housekeeping, due to the number of people on the call, you're muted, but you're not silenced. Please do use the chat feature if you have questions as we go along this afternoon. And then at the end of the webinar, we will open up the lines and make everyone live for any final questions or thoughts or comments that people might have. Every once in a while, an opportunity comes along that allows you to build a better mousetrap. And for SBAM, that opportunity came a couple of years back, and it was in the Secure Act, which passed Congress and was signed into law in very, very late 2019. The regulations came out, about a year later. And we set out on a journey to build a retirement program for our members. Since then, we've done that, but now we have Secure Act 2.0, which I'm sure John Rogers will spend some time on, which really does enhance the opportunity that the Secure Act brought to us. It sweetens the pie, if you will. Buried in the language of the original Secure Act was some passages that allow companies to band together, companies without a common nexus, to band together and join in what's called a pooled employer plan. It's for defined benefit or 401k style programs, and we've set out to do that. By another name, a pooled employer plan is a multiple employer plan or a group purchase plan. Those aren't new, but what is new is the language that allows an organization like SBAM to put a program together for our members. We've taken the strength of our 31,000 now members and put them together to get a deal that a small business couldn't get on their own. We've done this through a task force of volunteers, small business owners, and a couple of industry experts. And what we set out to do was build a best-in-class product for Michigan small business owners. And I think we've really succeeded in doing that. And I have vision of it from three different perspectives. First, as being one of the architects of the program, I know the steps that we've taken to build the program. SBAM is enrolled in the program, so we offer this program to our employees. And third, being an employee of SBAM, my retirement program is this program. So really, I have a vision of it from three different perspectives. Through a request for proposal that took many months to pull together, we assembled a team that you're going to hear from. It includes Transamerica as our record keeper, Tag Resources as our TPA, or what's known as the pooled plan provider, and Greystone Investment Advisors as our 338 investment advisors, setting the fund family that is available to us. Our goal was simple, to overcome what we understand to be the three biggest challenges for small business when they're thinking about a retirement plan for their employees. The first one is just the time it takes to do the research, to set up a plan, to find a plan, and to get that up and running for your employees. The fiduciary responsibility and therefore the liability that comes along with offering a plan and being your own plan administrator or fiduciary. And then third, just the cost that it takes to start a plan. And we've hit on all three of those. We think we have answers for all three of those? I don't think we have answers. I know we have answers for all three of those. We've built this also in an open architecture plan. So if you have a retirement program now, or if you have a retirement investment advisor that you're comfortable with, there's no need to change that. You can, in most cases, you can bring your investment advisor along with you. Let me stop there, and I'm going to turn it over to John Rogers from Greystone, who will walk us through the first part of it, and then turn it over to Jason Ludwikowski from Transamerica, who will do some of the more detailed work as well. Thanks. Go ahead, John.
Thanks, Scott. I'm John Rogers. I'm an institutional consultant with Greystone Consulting. Greystone is Morgan Stanley's institutional wealth management business. So what that means is that we've got an expertise in working with retirement plans, creating investment menus for retirement plans, and then we responded to the request to proposal process that Scott outlined with the retirement task force and help build this plan and due diligence the investment providers. Before I dive into the plan itself, let me take a quick step back and talk about the Secure Act a little bit. Scott mentioned that at the end of 2019, that was the legislation that allowed for this type of program, because you might say, why hasn't this been done before? There were some regulatory hurdles that needed to be changed a little bit to make sure that all of an organization like SBAM could roll this out to members. And then at the end of the year here, in 2022, they passed Secure Act 2.0. And what that did was really, it was a lot of different regulations, over 90, that impact both personal retirement and corporate retirement, workplace retirement plans, like the SBAM pooled employer plan. But the high level things that you'll want to know as a small business owner is if you haven't had a retirement plan before, there are now tax credits that cover 100% of the startup costs up to $5,000 in the first 3 years. So that's really, really sweetening the pot, making it that, the government wants to make it easier for small businesses to offer a retirement plan. And those startup costs were a big hurdle that now we can set aside. If you have a retirement plan now, you probably know that you couldn't make matching contributions into the Roth account. Now you can do that. If you have a plan, you should take a look at your plan. Use this as an opportunity to do some due diligence and make sure that it's most up to date, most beneficial for employees. And then down the road, Secure Act 2.0 will start to have new provisions. Not all of them go into effect this year, but soon we'll be able to make employer matching contributions based on student loan repayment. And then down the road, more low and moderate income Americans will be able to save for retirement by changing what's now a tax credit into what they'll call a saver's match. And that's a ways away. But basically what the government's going to do is supplement some of the dollars that an employee is deferring into the plan just to make the 401k even more attractive. That's Secure Act 2.0. Setting that aside, how does that impact this plan, this SBAM pooled employer plan? This is really a program built by small business owners for small business owners. And the overarching goal is to make this as easy as possible to get started, to administer, and then have a best-in-class deliverable for your employees so that you're competitive when you're in the market trying to attract and retain talent. So number one, Scott mentioned some of these things. This is your plan. It's going to be customized. Even though it's a pooled employer plan arrangement, the provisions of your retirement plan will be customizable. So eligibility requirements, like how long does somebody have to work at the company before they're eligible? What is the matching level that's going to be provided by the company, if any at all? And all of that's customizable. This isn't just like a 401k in a box. It really can be truly customized to suit the needs and requirements of your organization. Scott mentioned that adopters can maintain their current advisor. If you have somebody that you work with either in the workplace retirement plan that you offer now, or as your personal financial advisor, you can maintain that relationship. And in most cases, depending on what firm they work with, they're able to be your advisor on this plan and to be compensated for their work. The main goal of this PEP, this pooled employer plan, is time savings. So things that you, if you had your own kind of standalone 401k plan now, that you have to do, like we're sending required notices, monitoring contributions, distributions, approving loans, all of those things are offloaded to a fiduciary called Tag Resources, who will manage that administrative burden for you. Many small business owners that we speak with don't necessarily understand or appreciate the fiduciary risk that is associated with offering a retirement plan. In the SBAM pooled employer plan and pooled employer plans in general, a great majority of this fiduciary risk is offloaded to service providers. I mentioned the administrative outsourcing. In technical terms, we call that 316 administrative fiduciary. So what that means is, they sign a consolidated 5,500. You're not responsible for filing that. And they do some of the things that I mentioned earlier on an administrative basis, but it also extends to our team, who's what's called a 338 investment fiduciary, meaning that our responsibility is to select the funds on the plan, monitor them, make sure that they're still appropriate for participants. It doesn't fall on that individual fund selection doesn't fall on the business owner or the plan sponsor, like it does in many cases when you're offering a standalone single employer retirement plan. And then lastly, as this plan continues to grow, and we've had really great success in the first year of offering it, there are economies of scale, and SBAM has already negotiated pricing on your behalf using the strength of their their purchasing power as an organization, rather than you just coming looking for a retirement plan quote as an individual small business. And then I mentioned these tax credits that are available to companies that haven't offered a retirement plan before. So we'll dig in a little bit to how we get this done, who the key players are. I mentioned some of these challenges from a single employer plan, fiduciary liabilities, administrative costs. One thing I didn't mention was plan audit. If you have 100 employees or more, typically you're subjected to an annual audit. Those of you who have gone through that before know that in addition to the cost, which can be sometimes around $8,000, even more than that in some cases, there's a lot of time that's required to go through that annual audit. Within this pooled employer plan structure, that audit is done at the plan level. It's no longer your responsibility, so that burden goes away. So Jason, if you want to go to the next slide. I think we mentioned some of these benefits already, but you should know from an employer standpoint that your employees will also have a really, really good experience. Scott mentioned that he is an employee of SBAM. He has an account in this plan. There's really a good experience that Jason will go through some of the highlights of later in the presentation. So this is kind of who all of the players are, how we get all this done for members. We mentioned Tag Resources, who is the administrative partner, the administrative fiduciary responsible for quarterbacking all of the administrative support. Transamerica, who Jason works for, is the record keeper, and they do just that. They keep the records. When you need to log into your account, you'll log into a Transamerica web-based portal to change your investment elections, take a look at your account, change your contribution rate. Transamerica is kind of the front end, the thing that your employees will see when they log into their accounts. You can maintain a financial advisor, somebody that you work with now, or if you need help sourcing one, we can do that as well. Payroll is a component of this because, a 401k plan is a payroll deduction plan. One of the advantages and the reasons that they're so user-friendly for employees is they're able to save on a payroll deduction basis. So, a percentage of their paycheck comes out of the account. It's kind of an easy way to save, get that money invested, and have it done in a tax-advantaged way. If you're working with a payroll provider now, many times if they have the right technology, you're able to integrate this with the SBAM pooled employer plan with your payroll technology so that it's a completely seamless experience. We call it 360 integration. You'll see a HOLA is on the screen. That's SBAM's kind of partner preferred payroll vendor, but there are hundreds of vendors that this program has integration with. My firm, Greystone Consulting, is the 338 investment manager responsible for creating the investment menu. The auditor is sourced by TAG. It's at the whole, the plan level. And then this is still a plan that requires a fidelity bond. So, on the following page, we'll talk a little bit more about administrative offload. It can be time consuming. If you go to the next page, Jason, there should be a list of some of the tasks. Yeah. So, we keep talking about this administrative outsourcing. Here's a list of some of the things that are offloaded in the SBAM pooled employer plan that you might be doing now if you have a standalone, kind of individual retirement plan. Contribution submitting and updating to participant deferral election changes. If you have integration with a payroll provider, you're able to offload that. You're probably doing at least annual, if not semi-annual or quarterly investment reviews, and then are responsible for the investment decisions that are made at the fund menu level. Loan approval and distribution, compliance and legislative supervision, sending any required notices that need to be sent to participants, filing the Form 5500, doing the audit, and many other tasks. This is a user-friendly experience for small business owners because all of that is outsourced. And here's an even longer list of responsibilities that without being in a pooled plan arrangement, having somebody like TAG Resources to do the administration that you could be responsible for. The only responsibilities that you maintain are on the right-hand side of the screen. That's to monitor the service providers. So in this case, TAG's doing the administration, and SBAM is kind of supporting you in that monitoring. You're responsible for uploading payroll files. Again, that goes away if you have integration with a payroll provider. And then at the end of the year, TAG will verify some data that you've likely already provided with respect to payroll and contribution rates. So really seamless process and good administrative offloading. We mentioned this payroll integration. It does make things a lot easier. There's a kind of an electronic feed between the payroll provider and TAG. I want to caution you to talk to your payroll provider, see if they charge you for this integration. I know AHOLA has agreed to waive integration fees for the SBAM pooled employer plan. So something to keep in mind, but typically it's a pretty nominal cost for a really high value benefit. As far as fiduciary risks go, I think we've mentioned the fiduciary, outsourcing is a really important component of the SBAM pooled employer plan. It's your duty as a fiduciary to act in the best interest of the participants in your plan, and in this case, typically, your employees if you're a small business owner. And it is something that oftentimes gets taken for granted a little bit, and something that if you can offload it, I don't see why you wouldn't. SBAM's done a really good job due diligencing the service providers and making sure that they're strong fiduciaries to partner with. So I'm going to pass over to Jason. Jason's going to talk about a little and he works at Transamerica, and he's going to talk a little bit about the participant experience, what they see when they log into the Transamerica retirement portal, because I think that's a really important component of your due diligence when looking at different programs.
Thanks, John. So John shared a number of different benefits from an organizational perspective, but let's take a closer look at the participant experience and how your participants will interact within the retirement plan. So we understand in today's environment, employees want to get access when they want it, regardless of whether it be through their desktop or the mobile device, where they can access some of the different tools and resources or make changes to their account. So employees will always have access through a desktop, through their mobile device, where they can look at some of the different resources, get information on their accounts, and then they'll also have the ability to get some of the information in Spanish if they do need bilingual capabilities. So how do we interact with your employees? It's a multiple pronged approach that we utilize. First and foremost, we have our retirement planning consultants. So we can engage with your employees either through an in-person visit or through live webinars or pre-recorded webinars, helping your employees understand the value of why they'd want to participate in a retirement plan and sharing with them some of the different tools and resources they have at their discretion to ensure that they're on track to meet their retirement objectives. We take into consideration account security, and we take that, we speak of that in high regard to make sure that we are protecting the employees' accounts. In today's environment, we're all probably have been susceptible to some various type of, whether it be your credit card or your online accounts being hacked by somebody. So we do have our security measures in place. Not only inside of our retirement do we value the financial health of the employee, but we also value the physical health of the employee. So through some different partnerships with MIT, Healthy for Good, Aging Well Lab, the employees can have access to some different tools and resources regarding their physical health from that standpoint. And then a couple key caveats that I really like to dive deeper on is one is our On Track feature. It's built around a cloud simulator. And what it does is it allows the employees to take into consideration their retirement account balance, any outside retirement assets they may have. And then from there, they can input when they want to retire. For example, I want to retire in 2050. I'd like $3,000 a month in retirement. And based upon all this information, it's going to produce the results. Is that employee really on track to meet their retirement objectives? Is their retirement outlook rainy, partly cloudy, partly sunny, or sunny? And as a result, the employee can go back in and they can tweak their deferral percentages, when they want to retire, how much a month they want in retirement, to really see how that impacts their retirement objectives. And so when they do face that aha moment, am I ready to retire? They have an idea, have they sort of met the retirement objectives that they've inputted into the system? We all understand that retirement is not one of the financial sort of decisions an employee is going to make in their lifetime. And that's where our financial wellness center comes into play. So what this is this is an interactive library where employees can go online, select from a various different financial topics, such as obtaining a mortgage, buying a house, paying down debt, creating a budget, to name a few, and they can watch it at their own leisure. So when the time does come, if they're considering buying a house, hopefully through the library there and some of the tools and resources they've watched through the Financial Wellness Center, they have an idea of what questions to ask and how to proceed from there. Another piece we utilize is sort of our communication piece that we can send out on a quarterly basis. And there's a number of different variety of topics to help employees stay engaged in their retirement, stay engaged in the retirement plan, ensure they're on track to meet their retirement objectives, amongst other financial different types of topics. Earlier, I mentioned employees will have access, whether through a desktop or a mobile device. So our mobile device is a 3-step easy registration process. And then from there, the employees will be able to go online, view their account balances, make changes to their accounts, and also utilize some of the other different resources that are available to them. And then, of course, we take account security very seriously here at Transamerica. So there's a number of different types of processes we utilize to verify that is the employee trying to access their account through like a voice recognition type of program, amongst some additional security type measures. So rest assured, your employees' accounts are, the security of your employees' accounts are taken very seriously here within Transamerica. And I'll pass it back to John, who's going to talk a little bit more about the investments and the pricing within the SBAM PEP.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, so the technology is an important component, and then one natural thing to take a look at is the investments on this plan. And one thing that's a little bit unique about this program compared to other pooled plan arrangements is the fee transparency. So you're not going to have an investment menu of proprietary investment funds. I'm not going to see any, Morgan Stanley branded investments on this program. We take an open architecture approach to creating an investment plan menu. And so, our institutional team at Greystone is supported by, hundreds of analysts at Morgan Stanley who help us narrow down the universe of available investment opportunities and create a plan menu that makes sense for you and your employees. If you want to move to the next slide, this is a list of some of the fund sponsors that are on the investment plan for the SBAM pooled employer plan. One thing, that I want to highlight are the American funds, which are the target retirement date funds on this plan. Really useful investment for employees who are starting off in a 401k plan, because based off of their target retirement date, it'll put together an investment mix that makes sense for them, helps a less sophisticated investor stay on track for retirement. There's a mix of active investment managers as well as passive investments as well. So there are Vanguard index funds for fixed income, US equity markets and international markets. And so when you're comparing the costs for different programs, the investments are a component, but it's really going to ultimately depend on the investment mix that a participant elects. So we wanted to give people a mix of active opportunities as well as low-cost passive ones. So we feel really good about the investment menu. We continue to due diligence it and monitor the funds that are on the program, and it's been really strong. If you want to follow up for additional due diligence, we'd be happy to provide, kind of all of the funds that are on the investment plan menu. So, a spotlight on the tax credit. We mentioned it at the beginning of the program. If you haven't offered a retirement plan in the past, there's really never been a better time to do so. We'll talk about, if you want to take the next step, and Jeff will talk about kind of what to do next and how to get more information specific to your program. We can talk about these tax credits and what will be applicable to you and your organization. You will want to consult with a tax advisor as well. But at a high level, the startup costs for this program are going to be completely reimbursed up to $5,000 for 3 years if you haven't had a plan before. And then there are some other additional tax benefits that are available based off how you set up the plan. So if you want to go to the next slide, Jason. Jeff from my team will talk about next steps, but I think we've talked about this at a high level. It's going to be a customized plan that has administrative outsourcing to save you time, fiduciary risk management outsourcing to save you liability, and then pricing advantages from the unique group that SBAM's put together and their purchasing power. But Jeff, you want to talk about next steps?
Yep, thanks, John. And we'll take questions shortly. As far as next steps go, we encourage you to use this as an opportunity to evaluate your current plan, and we can help you do that. When you review retirement plan fees, they fall into three main categories. The first is the investment management fees, things like how much are the mutual fund expense ratios, and you can compare that, and it's not always apples to apples. So we'll need to take a hard look at that. Administrative and record keeping fees are typically things where we can create an apples to apples comparison, and keep in mind the services that are being offered as part of the pooled employer plan. Some of you will also experience brokerage or advisory fees for the education or the work that your financial advisor is doing with participants. And we're happy to do this comparison with you. And we can run a side-by-side comparison of what you're currently offering now. And you can request a fee disclosure document, which is a 408B2 disclosure, is the technical industry term, from your current service provider. And we'd be happy to run a side-by-side comparison with what you're currently doing now. And we know this plan is cost effective because before we rolled it out with SBAM and the Retirement Task Force, we did a benchmarking exercise against industry averages because we wanted to make sure we were really delivering on this promise that we were going to provide cost savings for many organizations. So we know at every level for every size plan, there are significant savings with this program relative to industry averages, and you're getting more services. So if nothing else, we encourage you to take a look. There's an opportunity to request a proposal through the SBAM website at sbam.org/retirement. And you can contact Kelly as well. Her information's on the screen. And with that, if there are any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them now. You can just put them in the chat or unmute yourself.
And Jeff and John, I would add one thing to what you just said. One of the fiduciary responsibilities that you have if you're a plan sponsor today is to make sure that your plan is doing everything it can for its employees. And one way to do that is to check it out against other plans. It's one of the responsibilities that you have that we can help you with. So with that, I would open it up to any questions from anyone. No questions.
Oh,
Oh,
got a hand raised.
Myra, go ahead. You can unmute yourself. There you
Yeah,
go.
it looks like your chat's disabled, so
Oh,
I'm not seeing a way to put something in the chat. So my question is, what are there benefits, or are you able to assist nonprofits?
Yes, we're
Yes.
able to assist nonprofits. There are nonprofits in the program now. It's not a 403B plan. It's a 401k plan. So this gets a little bit technical, and I'd be happy to take this offline with you and send you a comparison. But as long as you're willing to provide a match, this program is perfectly suitable. If you're not, you may want to look at a 403B plan.
You know, we're definitely looking for a program that we can provide a match through.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem.
any other questions? If not, I would encourage you to reach out to Kelly if you'd like to learn more. Maybe get a proposal to see how this either stacks up against the plan that you have today, or how really affordable this is, especially given the tax credits that are available through the Secure Act and Secure Act 2. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Have a great afternoon.